Today we're going to go over the features and benefits and explanation of the TOPCON RL-H4C. The RL-H4C is a unique laser. It is a flat plane rotating laser. It has the working diameter of 2,600 working feet, which that means that's 1,300 foot out per window. The also nice thing about the RL-H4C is, yes, it's primarily used in flat plane only, but occasionally when you get that job that requires a pitch or a little bit of slope and it doesn't justify getting a real slope laser, then this also has the features in it where we call it econograde, and it's in one axis only, and you can go up to 5%. The other nice thing about the RL-H4C is that you've got two choices of it. The one, as you see here today, comes with the rechargeable battery pack, which we'll go over that here in a few seconds. But you can also order it without rechargeables, where it would just come with 4 D-cell flashlight batteries. And then the final thing, which is really the best about this unit, is TOPCON quality. One more time, TOPCON puts their reputation on the line. This unit comes with a 5-year warranty, and what that means is 5 years. If this unit fails on its own, TOPCON stands behind all parts and labor under warranty. So there's none of this where you buy an extra year or after the 3rd year we only cover certain things. It's as simple as it is. 5 years, unit fails on its own, we stand behind it. Let's just start and go through the operation of the unit. The first thing you always want to do, of course, you're going to mount it on a tripod, which it accepts a 5/8 by 11 thread, which is common with most of your tripods. After you mount it, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to push this green button right here. Turn it on, you'll notice there's a little LED flashing, and you'll notice there's no rotation of the head. Once it levels up, the rotating head will start to spin, and then this little LED will come on solid. As you can see, it's starting to rotate. LED is solid. That means it's self-level and ready to go to work. Now, the nice unique thing about this is this button right over here, which is what we call elevation alert. TOPCON's lasers, slope and flat plane, come with built-in elevation alert. What that means for you is that once this unit levels up and starts to spin, after she has spun for 1 minute, after that 1 minute, if I were to bump a leg, or if you're using it in the spring or fall when ground can start to settle and a tripod leg can settle into the ground, it will change the elevation of the laser. And what's important that you know is when that elevation is changed. So what will happen after that 1 minute, if I were to bump this, the unit will shut down and stay down. What will happen is it will go into a slower rotating speed, and I will show you here in a second of how you will know this happened when you are out working with the handheld receiver at several hundred feet away. Also, once that does happen, it'll give you information at the receiver, and then these 3 lights here will start flashing at you, letting you know that it has been bumped. This is a plus. It's like having insurance, and you want to know this because there are other brands out there that are self-leveling that when they do get disturbed, they'll shut off momentarily, and if they're not out of their complete self-leveling range, they'll re-level back up, go back to work, but if your crew did not catch that, then the height has changed on the instrument, and you don't want to find that out at the end of the job when you're having to rework. You want to know it happened, immediately happened, so you can make the correction. So I'm going to demonstrate now, before I go into any other buttons, this elevation alert. I'm going to bump the laser. We're just going to do this. And if you noticed, it stopped, but it's at a very slow speed. You'll notice all 3 lights are flashing at me now. What this means is that elevation alert has been triggered off. you will get a signal at your receiver, which we'll demonstrate here in a minute. Then, of course, what would happen is once you know that this has happened to the unit, you're going to come back over the unit. It's identifying to you what has happened. You're going to power the laser off, power the laser back up. Notice the little lights blinking. Notice there's no rotation. So it's re-leveling itself. Once it re-levels, it'll start to rotate again. But before you go back to work, you're going to take your handheld receiver, go back over to your benchmark, and recheck your height to make sure it hasn't changed. Because if it has, you want to make that correction right then before you continue to work. The next button that we have here is the red buttons right here, which I said earlier, that you can use a Connie slope, which is up to 5%. Now, how that works is when you look at the front of this display, you'll see an arrow going that way and an arrow going that way. What that means is you can only slope it in one axis, and that's your axis when you're looking at the front of the unit, meaning left and right. Okay? So how that would work is once I found the height of my instrument, and I know that from here to 100 foot or 200 foot, whatever that distance may be, if I want it not flat and I want something less than 5% of slope, then what I'm going to do is after I take the height of my instrument, then I know that from this point to that point, I want to be, let's say, 1 inch lower. So I will go ahead and make that calculation with my receiver on the grade rod. Then I will hold it over here on my benchmark. And then if I'm wanting the slope to go down, head in that direction, I push this button right here, and you'll notice that this unit, the beam will start driving down. Now, what will happen is you'll pick up that beam at your receiver, and then once that receiver starts picking it up, and once you hit what it calls on grade, then you just mash the button one time, and it stops, and you have the slope that you were putting into the unit, up to 5%. Now, but you noticed I did that an economic way. I have to figure out the math myself and do the buttons. But again, primarily this is used for flat plane use only, and if you're doing constantly slope work, then I really recommend that you buy a real slope laser. But this unit does have that for that one job out of 100. The next button is this button right here. It's called manual. Since this is a self-leveling laser, why would I ever want to put this laser in manual? Well, if I have a job that, let's say I'm doing residential, I'm running a sewer lateral out from the house out to the main line, or I'm putting in a driveway at a steep slope, or there's a ditch out there. It doesn't require precision slope, but it does require something more than 5%. So what you can do is set it up to where I have the 2 legs out to the side here, the 1 leg in the back. And let's say that I'm wanting to do a 3-to-1 ditch, but it's not precision, but just get it in the ballpark. What I can do now is hit this button twice. You notice I turned the self-leveling off. It's re-leveled. Now it's disengaged the self-leveling mechanism. So now that I can take this 1 leg and tilt it this way, or if I need to bring it up this way. And you can see that I'm gaining a greater slope than 5%. But this is all done manually. And I'm going to put it back into self-leveling. And when we were talking earlier about the elevation alert, I want to point out, you saw the importance of elevation alert, that it's a must with a self-leveling laser, so that you want that laser to shut off if anybody disturbed or bumped it, so it wouldn't re-level and you'd be having wrong readings. The questions always come up, why would I ever want to turn elevation alert off? The reason that you would ever want to turn it off, if I'm doing concrete work or I'm using this as an inspection tool for a general contractor, and anything that I'm trying to get very precise, I want elevation alert on. But let's say I'm a grading contractor and I'm out here and I have several big articulated off-road trucks. I have several excavators, motor graders, bulldozers, a lot of heavy machinery, and it's a vast dirt moving size job. And I have this out in the middle of that job and I'm just using it so the grade checker can go around and checking, where they're making the big cuts, where they're filling. My point is on that type of application, I'm not looking to try to get within a 16th or an 8th. If I'm within a 10th, I'm happy when I'm moving that large amount of dirt. So with this being that sensitive, and if it's in the middle of the job, you can see where there's enough vibration in the ground that I could cause the elevation alert to go off. The first time that goes off, the grade checker's not going to be upset. He's going to understand what's happening. He's going to walk back over, turn the laser off, back on. But you can imagine if this happens numerous times during the day, it's going to be frustrating for that grade checker. So the grade checker still wants it self-leveling, but doesn't want it as sensitive. So if I come up to this button and hit it 2 times, notice I turned elevation alert off. So now it's not so sensitive, but I still have self-leveling function. Example, I'll just show you. If I bump this a little bit, you notice the laser has shut down, but it's not flashing the elevation alert has been triggered off. As long as it's in its leveling range, it's going to re-level like it has and go back to work. So that is why you would ever want to turn elevation alert off. But when you first turn the laser on, elevation alert is automatically going to come on after it has leveled and ran for 1 minute. So if I want to go back with elevation alert back on, hit the button. Now after she spun for 1 minute, the elevation alert will engage again and be effective. So we've covered the econo slope buttons, elevation alert, why it's so critical, but if you didn't want it on, how to turn it off. If you had an application where I needed more than a 5% slope, then I can put this completely into a manual mode to where I can hold it upside down sideways and she's still going to run. But I'm using that tripod leg to give me that steeper slope. Now, final, we talked about the rechargeable battery pack. What's nice about the TOPCON rechargeable battery pack is several things. If the guys in the field forgot to recharge this pack and they're in the middle of the job and it went dead, do not panic. There's a clip here and a clip here. This brick detaches and comes out, and I can put 4 D-cell flashlight batteries in here, put it back in, go back to work. Now, the reason I point this out so much is some of our competitors do not have a safety device built into their offering that I'm showing here with this pack, meaning that they put D-cell flashlight batteries in here. They put it in. They go back to work. And this evening when we're done, the person that put the D-cells in most of the time is not the person that's going to take it down, take it into the job trailer, plus you're in a hurry to head home. So don't check things out. Just pop this open and stick the 110 charger to it and plug it in. My point is that competitive brands, the next day when you come back, you will find your unit melt down. With TOPCON, you will not have that problem. We've built in the device in our battery pack that when that rechargeable pack detaches, and with the way you put the D-cell flashlight batteries in there, even though I hook the charger to it, there's no connection being made. So I don't care if you leave the charger plugged in there for days, weeks, or months, you're not going to affect this unit and have a meltdown. This is the LFDL Receiver. If you notice, the red window here is where you pick up the beam. The side window over here is where you'll get a visual display of a high arrow, a low arrow, or a solid bar, meaning on grade. The display, you can read it as well on the back side as well. Of course, this green button here is your power button that turns it on. This button here is your wide and narrow deadband button. What that means is, if you'd like to try it yourself, you can take it off the bracket and you'll notice we have a notch on this side and a notch on this side, and them notches are right in line with where the on grade is. So if I put it in narrow band, what that's doing is tightening up the deadband width of your on grade signal. So if I were to bring this down into the plane of light, telling me that I'm high, 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 and as I get to when it first comes on grade, if I had this flat against a wall and made a mark there or there, then if I would continue to bring the receiver on down until the arrow tells me to come back up, then I make the marks, and what that will show you is in narrow band it's plus or minus a 1/16, which that means from the top side to the bottom side of that, you really got an overall width of 1/8 of an inch. So the reason I'm pointing that out is if I start high to grade, then I want to continue all my readings high to grade. Because if I go high to grade, then the next reading I go low to grade, right there I've already got an 1/8 inch difference. And that's just because I did not use this properly. Has nothing to do with the accuracy of the laser. And then of course, if I go into narrow band is plus or minus 1/8, which again, as soon as I hit on grade, continue to tell me to come back up, plus or minus 1/8. Now I could have a 1/4 inch of error. So that's what the deadband button's for. And this button here determines which audio motion you want it in. If I'm working with this unit, putting in concrete forms, and I have this at my head height all day long, the beeping sounds, the difference between high, low, and on grade, can after a while aggravate you. So I can turn it off to where I have no audio at all, and then I can just watch the display on the back telling me if I need to come down, come up, or I'm on grade. Now let's say I have this maybe a couple feet above my head. I'm going to turn the audio on to where now I will get audio tones, and the tones are different versus high, low, and on grade. So I can just listen to the tones and tell what's going on with this receiver. Now if I had to get this, say 10, 12 foot above my head, and I have heavy machinery running out there, that lower tone can be difficult to hear. So I can hit the button one more time, and it will give me a more louder tone signal so that I can hear this. Okay? That is the receiver and how you use it properly with this. Final thing I would like to point out is the nice carrying case that TOPCON provides for their precision instrument. If you'll look in the insides here, you'll notice there's no foam, nothing that can hold dirt or moisture. What's nice about this is on the job site, as the guys leave them open, if rain were to get in, dirt get in, no problem. I can dump it out, I can wash it out. Also what's nice is to protect the unit, if you'll notice these built-in insert bumpers. So that way when the laser is laying in here and it is closed, it is nice snite and tug so that vibration is not affecting this unit. Why it's in the back of the truck, so you're not worrying about constant calibration issues. How everything goes in, laser goes in this way, your receiver with your holder still on there, your rechargeable if you have the rechargeable battery pack right here. Now just in case, a lot of folks do like to get an extra receiver and holder, so instead of it being laid out somewhere else, there's an extra slot right over here to the side that fits in as well. Also, if you look at it here, there's spots here for your D-cell flash batteries and your AA for your receiver. So everything's nice and clean in one carrying case, and as you close it up, you notice the real heavy-duty latches. Not latches that after a while of this and that fall off. Another TOPCON quality product.